And one person that really helped Dr. McCollum was actually her 9-year-old nephew. And here's a little story about him, and he refers to her as Gigi for great-grandmother.
Just last month, I called him, and he immediately said, "Gigi, are you finished that horrible chemo?" And I said, "Yes," and I feel so great. And he said, "Oh, Gigi, that's the most wonderful." And so here's this child who's now 9 and could try to understand what I was going through and to give me this love and encouragement. And we just need that every day from someone, from somewhere. It can be from our work, it can be from a stranger on the bus, it can be from our family, but we need it.
Again, humans need love. As much as we would like to be independent and not need anybody to live, the fact is that we do need other people to be happy. And so we talked about, so far, meditation, mindfulness, self-compassion, and genuine connections. But there is one more thing, that component that I got from my interviews, that I want to talk about. And this component completely changed my perception on my project, on happiness, and on myself. And this is letting go of control.
I was just up the street this morning to my neighbor, and our houses are kind of far apart out here in this desert community. And he said, "Oh, you know, I read one time that kind of happiness is like, you see a beautiful butterfly, and if you chase it, you'll never catch it. And even if you did, you'd probably destroy it because it's so fragile. But if you sit quietly, it just might come and sit on your arm." And maybe that's a good analogy for happiness.
That quote gives me shivers every time. Wow. The first thought that came to my mind when I heard this, when I was editing my interview, was, I am a control freak. Here I am trying to find this equation to happiness. I'm setting up snares and booby traps trying to catch this butterfly. And I realized that I'm trying to catch something that I can't control. I'm trying to catch something that isn't as rigid as an equation, that isn't math. Sorry, Mr. Kendrick. It's more difficult to explain than math. It's not so set. It's constantly changing, just like life is constantly changing, just like we are constantly changing. And I heard this quote actually from my best friend Audrey Bubar, that happiness is not a destination, but a direction. And I realized that I was trying to make it a destination by trying to find this set equation of 30 minutes of yoga plus meditation plus 2 best friends equals happiness. And it turns out this does not exist. But there's one story that Dr. McCollum told me about letting go of control that I feel is really powerful. So she was about to get her treatment, and this was the 6th one, so this was the halfway point for her. And so she's a really goal-oriented person, so she's like, okay, I'm halfway there, I'm halfway through treatment. And they have to get their blood drawn every time before they get chemo to see if they are healthy enough to take it. And her doctor came to her and said, "I'm sorry, Linnell, you're not healthy enough to get chemo today." And she grabbed the doctor's arm and was like, no, this is the 6th one, this is the halfway mark, I have to get my treatment. And then he touches her shoulder and he says, "Will you please trust me? We will get through this." And that's when Dr. McCollum said, her shoulders slumped, and she said tears just started coming down her cheek. And her shoulders didn't slump in defeat. She said they slumped in surrender. Because she can't control that she had cancer. Things happen in life that we can't control. So when she surrendered, actually at that point, she started getting better. Nothing changed in her treatment. She started being able to eat again, and she just started getting better. The thing that changed was her mindset. It was all about letting go of control. And so that kind of shows how much power our thoughts actually have on our life. And so I kind of wanted to explain this to emphasize that fact. And this is the cognitive behavioral therapy triangle. And like I said, events happen. You get sick, you get in a car accident, things happen, and you can't control that. What we can control is your thoughts, which ultimately controls your feelings and your behaviors. So say you get a bad grade on a test, and your thoughts are, well, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I stink at school. So then your feelings, you're going to feel sad, you're going to feel worthless. And so your behavior might be, you drop out of school because you figured that you're stupid, so you don't want to continue on this path. And then your thoughts about dropping out of school, well, you're like, well, now I'm a failure at life because I dropped out of high school. And then it keeps going on and on and on, and it can really lead into a terrible, terrible spiral down. But if you had changed that thought, same event, you get a bad grade, but if you had changed the initial thought that, okay, I did bad, but next time I'll study more. And so then your thoughts maybe still disappointed, but not nearly as drastic as the first one. And so then your behaviors might be, so maybe next time you study more, maybe you do test corrections. But you see how it completely, just your thoughts completely change the outcome of your life. So this might sound confusing and kind of contradicting to the thing I said about letting go of control. So I want to clarify. What I mean by letting go of control is letting go of things that are out of our control, like getting hurt and like getting cancer or something similar to that. But when I mean that we can control things like our thoughts, we can control internal things. And I believe that there is no happiness set equation, but I believe we can use all those techniques that I gave you to improve our happiness. And some of them might work for you and some of them might not, because everyone is different. But those are just the ones that I chose to emphasize. But basically, what kind of summarizes what I'm trying to say is the Serenity Prayer. Heard it at the AA meeting. So it goes, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So like I said, some things we cannot change, but some things we can. We can change internal things, but we cannot change external things. Thank you for listening to my presentation. My podcast actually comes out on May 21st, which is this coming Monday on iTunes. You can search The Happiness Equation or Amy Slagle. And I wanted to say special thanks to all my collaborators in interviews, Mr. Dunbar and Ms. Perry and Ms. Bailey. And I wouldn't have been able to create this project without you guys, and I would not be where I am right now on my own path to happiness if it weren't for you guys. So thank you.